Anyways, hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I wanted to start by saying I am so impressed by Berkeley International School and the SERVICE committee and all of you guys and learning about what you're already involved with. It's so inspiring and I'm so in awe. And I want to start by giving a big round of applause to all of you guys. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm Pavini. I am the Youth Engagement Lead and Project Manager at UNIS Thailand. And today I want to share just a little bit about my journey, what got me to where I am right now, what I'm doing now and how you can be involved, and then a few words of advice that I have given my journey. The slide's not changing.
It's down.
Oh, it's down.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not intuitive. Anyways, okay, if we go backwards a couple years, I was in your shoes. So I am a St. Andrews alumni. I know they're not here in this conference, but this is a bit of bits and bobs of me back in high school, right? As you might get an idea, I was a pretty active student, the type that signed up for more than they could handle. You know what I mean? Yes. And basically, the type who was really eager to learn as much as I could. Basically, I was kind of a nerd. But I really had a focus on doing impact and service projects, as this has always been a core value of mine. So I was involved with a lot of initiatives in high school. You know, I volunteered with the school for students with disabilities. Thank you so much for that beautiful speech, by the way. You know, as part of setting up a water system for a rural community in Chiang Mai who didn't have access to water, Model United Nations, and so on. So being involved with all these activities, I really started to build a passion for service and for impact projects. And this is when I really realized that, hey, I can take action to create impact. And then I got hooked. I kind of got addicted to it. But at this time, my understanding about the world and global challenges was still quite limited to what I learned in the classroom or the clubs that I was involved with. I wasn't really one to read the news every day or Wikipedia pages or huge informational books. Maybe Twilight was on my reading list, you know. But yeah, I still had a limited awareness of what was going on in the world. And things that should have been taught about more weren't really taught about in school. Believe it or not, back then, climate change was not really a topic that was discussed in school, maybe once in my geography class. So I had a limited understanding. And then I set off on my next phase in life. I flew to California, US, to go to university, which was one of the best experiences in my life, but also one that made reality slap me in the face a little bit. So being the service-minded person I am and the nerd I am, I took a lot of classes in global poverty, on climate change, on community engagement. And I started to join a lot of events, conferences, and read more news and learn about what's really going on in the world, the outside world, which I wasn't as aware of before. And that's when I realized our world and our environment is in a state of crisis, right? It's crazy to think that in the last 50 years, we have increased the amount of CO2 we pump out into the atmosphere by 90%. And we've seen the effects of that in our hometown. We've seen some of the most extreme floods in the past decade. We're seeing the worst heat waves in Europe in the last 500 years. I don't think I have to talk much about this because we hear about it every single day now. And it's something that you can't, live your life without knowing about. I learned that it's crazy that 1% of the world's population holds nearly 50% of the world's wealth. There's so much inequality in the world. And with COVID-19 and the pandemic happening, 100 million additional people went into extreme poverty, living with just less than 40 baht a day, right? And many people are still unemployed. We've seen what happened with Twitter and Meta these days. They're firing their employees like dead flies, right? And there's many young people who are graduating and still don't have access to opportunities. And I realized our world is kind of in a state of chaos, and I felt overwhelmed. How many of you have felt overwhelmed by this at some point in time? Yeah, that's a lot of us. And I think that's completely normal, right? There's a lot going on in the world. When I came back to Thailand for winter break, I really experienced a turning point in 2018. You know, this was one of the worst wildfire seasons in California, so before I left, the skies were so smoky, they were orange. I was scared to go outside. I mean, college was canceled a couple of days because the air quality was so bad. So part of me was kind of happy to leave, right, to go back to Thailand, but also really feeling this scared. I took a layover in Korea, and guess what? Same thing. Please keep your masks on. The air quality is too bad. You know, there was a lot of pollution coming in from neighboring countries who were burning their crops. And then guess what happens when I'm back in Thailand? The entire winter break, I didn't see blue skies for the entire time. And I was scared to go outside and trapped indoors for a lot of this time. And I started to reflect on, you know, what future are we moving towards? Are we moving towards a future where we're scared to go outside? You know, where we are trapped indoors or always behind masks? Seems to be a reality now. And that really got me thinking. And as I was on a car ride, you know, to the beach, I was hoping the skies would clear, but they didn't. And that's when a tear rolled down my cheek, and I realized we're not on the right path, right? And I need to do more to be involved in solving some of these problems, because I didn't feel like I was doing enough. So I spontaneously changed my major halfway through my college degree. I decided to do environmental conservation and resource studies, realizing that our entire existence basically depends on nature, right? And it's in a state of chaos. Disclaimer, this is a bad idea if you don't want to feel overwhelmed or anxious about the world, because in this field, you do feel that way many times. But what I realized was the best way for me to cope with this was to really take action and to do something that was in my control to tackle some of these issues that I cared about. And then seeing the impact of my actions, however big or small, was what really motivated me to keep going on and to keep waking up and to keep doing what I do the next day. And so that's what I started doing, right? I started being involved with all these initiatives to tackle environmental problems. And I won't go too much into these, but I was involved with a research study at Berkeley to study perceptions on climate change. I was part of launching a global movement called the Global Climate Pledge to encourage people to take action to live sustainable lifestyles. I was part of building a waste management startup model to increase the recycling rate in Thailand, in Bangkok. And so all this really gave me motivation and helped me also cope with all this chaos in the world. Well, there's one experience that was really fulfilling and that really also changed my life that I want to expand on a little bit more, which was my time joining the club Enactus. So Enactus is a club that really tries to empower people to be social entrepreneurs. And this is the first time that I learned about social entrepreneurship, social enterprises. Before, I thought business is all about making profits and money at the expense of the environment, at the expense of human rights. But I realized there's a new form of business now. Social enterprise is basically a business that sets out to solve a problem, an environmental problem, a social problem. And I love that, right? Because a lot of the initiatives that I was involved with before were volunteer-based, were service-based. And I saw the limitations of that model, right? You're always dependent on a donor to give you money. If something happens and their budget gets cut, like in COVID, your lifeblood is gone. A lot of employees weren't able to get paid for their work. I was not really paid for anything I did before in that last slide. And everyone should get paid for hard work that they're doing to create a better world, right? With social enterprises, it's a business, right? So it creates profits, but you can put that profits back into the business to continue creating your impact. And this way you can scale your impact and sustain your impact in the long run. So I fell in love with this idea. Eventually I became president of the club, and I managed the trip where we went down to the Philippines. Here are some of our pictures there. It's so wholesome to just look at them. But in this trip, we did a couple things, one of which was we built compost bins so that they could use surplus food in their school and compost it in these bins that we built at their school with the students. And they can create fertilizers from this, which they can sell to neighboring farms, create income, create profits, create money that they can put back to hire someone to maintain this compost bins and to get additional income to put back to the schools, right? A small depiction of a social enterprise. What we also did is we held a boot camp to train the young students on how to build social enterprises. And this was really, really eye-opening, because when we initially went to this region, it was a rural region in Philippines. We felt what you might have called pity or sympathy for some of these people initially, because there was not much internet there. A lot of the families were living in very impoverished conditions. There's a lot of typhoons that hit this region. But when we did this boot camp and we trained them on how to build enterprises, to how to build businesses, I realized that each one of these kids, at the school, they were filled with creative potential. They were filled with, this power, but they just lacked the access to resources or the knowledge or the skills to really capitalize on that and to build something from that. And so as we trained them through this social enterprise boot camp, we found that some of the kids actually ended up starting businesses after in their communities, using resources that they had. And they were able to find ways to stay in their hometown rather than going back to the cities, and leaving afterwards. So I really, really found that, I can only make so much impact by myself, but each one of us here in this world, every single one of us in this room has so much creative potential. And if I can help empower others to be their own impact makers, to be their own change makers, we can just multiply the impact and do so much more. Right? Yes, let's hear it. And so that's when I really fell in love with this idea too. Fast forward a couple years, and I have now graduated from UC Berkeley, and I am working full-time with UNIS Thailand to do exactly that. To empower, to engage people in social enterprise, or what we call social business. To educate them with the knowledge and the skills that they need to build social businesses and solve problems they care about. And then to be a platform for action and empower people to actually build social businesses so we can catalyze this impact.
Nice.
Thank you. And we have a big vision. It's a wild vision. People think we're crazy for it, but we still stand by it. We want to create a world of 3 zeros. Zero net carbon emissions, 0 poverty, and 0 unemployment. And how are we going to do that? It's by leveraging the power of social business, social enterprise, and to unleash the entrepreneurship in all. If every one of us here created an entrepreneurial venture to solve a problem they cared about, we can slowly start to move towards this future and make it more real.
Yes.
Right? And this is our guiding guru. I'm not sure if any of you know of him, but he's a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Muhammad Yunus. He's our guiding guru at UNIS Thailand. He says, if we can imagine something, there's a good chance that it will happen. And if we don't imagine it, there's almost no chance. That vision is crazy, but isn't it crazy that now we're able to go to Mars? Isn't it crazy that now we can sit on vehicles and fly across countries? Many things were crazy at a time, but if we set the vision and set the intention to move towards this vision, we can make things happen that we thought we couldn't. But we can't just sit and close our eyes and imagine this beautiful world with 0 net carbon emissions, 0 poverty, 0 unemployment, and open our eyes and expect all these things to be solved. We have to really build new pathways towards this new future and this vision, right? And we young people are at the driver's seat in shaping this new pathway towards a world of 3 zeros. This all sounds cheesy, but we are full of creativity, each one of you, even though you might forget it or not feel like it sometime. You have the power to create ideas and to create solutions, right? We have the open-mindedness, we have the passion, the hope for a better future. A lot of adults lose this as we grow up. Please keep this, guys, because this is your power. And we are a very powerful generation, probably one of the most powerful generations, given our access to technology and all we have in our world right now. This is why one of the key activities we do at UNIS Thailand is to lead the 3-0 Club movement. And we're very happy to be softly launching this at this conference today. So really excited, guys. And the 3-0 Club is a platform for young people like you all to take action to solve problems that you care about. And then to highlight the amazing work that you're either already doing or going to start to a global audience, so we can inspire other young people to take action. And then also to connect you to a global support ecosystem and network of young leaders so that you can collaborate and make more, bigger impact together and faster. And in practice, this is very simple. A 3-0 Club is basically a group of 5 people. Take 5 people right here who set out to do something to solve or address the problem they care about, right? And no action is too small, and no sector is included. Sports, arts and culture, history, agriculture, you name it. You can do anything in those spaces to create an impact, right? And you don't have to start something new. A lot of you already are doing amazing things, which is what I've learned in the last 2 days. And yeah, you don't have to start something new. So you can build off existing initiatives or start something new if you don't have it. But why would you build a 3-0 Club, right? So when you do, you will join this global platform and network. So what I've realized in my journey is that there's all these resources out there, all these people out there that you could benefit from and that you could use to develop your skills or your projects and so on. But so what's missing is that linkage between you and the resource, you and the network, right? So what we do with the 3-0 platform is we try to connect the clubs to the support that they need. We have a global support ecosystem. So we have UNIS social business centers in 96 universities and 3-0 support organizations and people all over the world. So these are the guys, these are the connectors. You can ask them what you need and they will connect you to what they have in their resources to really give you what you need to really create an impactful project. What's even more exciting is you can connect with other clubs around the world. So if you are doing something on waste management and there's another club doing that in Bangladesh or in Japan, you can connect with each other to share knowledge, exchange insights, experiences, and then to maybe coordinate and take joint action. In this way, we can not work in silos, but connect what's already being done around the world and really scale and catalyze action towards reaching the goals that you've set. And all the clubs will also have opportunities to join international events and share the work they're doing and build networks. So just 2 weeks ago, I was in the Global Social Business Summit in Italy, where we had the 3-0 convention, and clubs could share the work they're doing. Because we really want to highlight the amazing work that you're already doing and will do so you can inspire others. Through all this, we really hope that we can catalyze joint action and facilitate collaboration so we can move towards this 3-0 world. Now we'll skip this video. I think we're low on time. But if you're not a student, you can also be involved with this, right? If you're a parent or just a person in this room who wants to support this initiative, you can also be a 3-0 support person and be that connector for these young people to empower them to create the most impactful projects. And if you're a school and you want to take an active role in this movement, then you can also register as a 3-0 support organization to do the same thing. We also have many other different projects in UNIS Thailand, but one that I would like to highlight also is the Waste Hero project we have. So we have a goal to educate 1 million people in circular economy, recycling, and entrepreneurship opportunities in the circular economy in the next few years. So we've created 20 educational packages for students that range from kindergarten to college and university. That's free to access. So all of you can literally download it at a click of a finger. It's all available on our website. And you can use this to do workshops and to really train people on recycling and entrepreneurship opportunities in the circular economy field. We're also going to be creating a manual of how to create a Waste Hero 3-0 club. So if you're interested in that, make sure to connect with me. But just to close this speech, we have a lot more going on in UNIS Thailand, but I don't have the time to explain everything. But if you want to learn more, make sure to check out the booth at the NGO fair, and I'd be happy to talk more. But I would like to just close with a few pieces of advice that I have gained from my journey so far. You know, I was once in your shoes. I doubted my potential, right? I was thinking my actions are not significant back in high school. I wasn't sure what lies ahead and was kind of scared about it. And was trying to think about, what other people want me to do versus, what I really wanted to do. And I just want to say, that you got the power.
Yeah.
Okay, you have the power. I did not think that one day I would be standing here and giving a speech to all of you guys. I did not think I would be working at UNIS Thailand and leading an incubation program, or having been involved in research or launching a global movement. But I just kept my actions aligned with my North Star and my values. And with that power and that will and that hope and that persistence, you can do so much. The power is all in you. It's just about unleashing it and choosing how you use it, right? And no action you take is insignificant. Every action you're taking today is going to create a butterfly effect and influence where you're going in the future. Think back to my story, right? When I joined Enactus, I was just this young kid interested in social impact, But I involved myself in the activities and surrounded myself with people who do those things. And down the line, that's a big reason why I got the job at UNIS Thailand. What did I talk about in my interview, right? It was a lot about the fact that I had this experience back in college and some of my experiences in high school too. So what you're doing now has an impact, and it's not insignificant. And you don't have to have everything figured out. I know that's a pressure that you guys often feel, and I felt when I was in high school. But we're all changing, constantly changing human beings with constantly changing passions and ideas. And that's okay. That's just human. I changed my major 3 times, So I encourage that. Don't be afraid to switch gears. But always reflect on what it is that really drives you. What is it that you want to do? What impact, what mark do you want to leave on the world? And try to sometimes silence out what other people are telling you you should do, and really find what it is that drives you. And then do things that relate to that. Surround yourself with people that do those things, and you'll find that the universe makes stars align and opportunities will come your way.
Yeah.
So just don't give up and stay persistent to that goal, to that North Star that you've set for yourself. And last but not least, I want to urge you guys to think about how you can contribute to a 3-0 world. We are at a point of crisis. We are at a point of no return, but we're not at a point where we can't pave new paths. And to do so, we need everyone to take part in this, right? And you can do that from whatever major you're in, whatever sector you're in, but think about how you want to leave an impact and create a better world. Because if we all come together and take joint action, I hope that one day we'll reach a stage where a 3-0 world won't be a dream, won't be a utopia, won't be a crazy idea, but something that we can see as a potential reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pavini, for your insight and the new knowledge you have provided us here today at SERVICE. We're all eager to learn more and truly appreciate your time here today for our Thailand school community.
Since we're short on time, we only have a couple questions from the audience. The first question is, since you were involved with so many activities during school, could you give any advice for people struggling to find their passion?
That's a good question. I think, the way passion has been talked about recently, it's that this one thing that you have to, figure out for life. And I don't really see it like that. Like I said, we're all changing human beings. Take some time out to think about what wakes you up in the morning. Like what drives you? What do you do that really makes you feel happy and that sense of fulfillment internally? And that can change, right? That can change with time. And so try to really just take some space to reflect on that, I would say, which is something we don't do as we're in this busy world. So just take some space, silent time, reflection time on your own to think about that. And if you don't come up with something, that's also okay. what I would say is just engage yourself in multiple different activities, try different things out, and then you'll really find what makes you tick, right? You'll find that, oh, this is something that I'm not really interested in, which is as valuable as knowing what you're interested in too. You might find some activities you do, oh, you're so excited to do this, you're so excited to see what's next, you're so excited to keep going. So if you don't have that thing that really moves you yet, just try different things out, and I think reflect on how you're feeling with each activity, and you'll eventually find that passion. And that can change, and don't take it as a pressure, but really take some time to think about it.
Okay, lastly, our final question. Our generation right now is so overfed with information about climate change and global warming. How did you get started and find your own path in this area?
Right. Yeah, so I think, as I mentioned, it was really when I went to the US and I started to take all these courses on climate change and environment sustainability. Two things you cannot escape in Californian classes is one, talk about AI and computer science, and two, climate change. Like my entire English class was about climate change. So I was really able to expose myself to a lot of inspirational teachers who taught me a lot, and then I just started reading a lot more and trying to understand what was going on. I think ignorance is bliss, really, but knowledge is something that that you can then take to empower you to take action then, right? So once you learn about what's going on, then you can find ways to take action. So as I became more aware and reflected on these things, that's when I really set foot and I was like, I need to do something about this.
Thank you so much for your amazing speech. Everyone, please give her another big round of applause.
Thank you so much.